All right, I got 8 o'clock on the dot. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping stuff. I
Okay,
see
here
we
we go.
got 57 participants. This call will only go up to 100. So if you're a board member, maybe jump off if you see us getting close to that number, but ideally, we're not that popular. Um, First off, I'm BJ, the Sienna Baseball president. I know you're all probably trying to get your kids to bed right now, so I do appreciate your time. Derek, I see you. Is the audio good? Good. All right. I know you're trying to get your kids to bed, so my goal is to front load this with kind of like the fire hose approach of a lot of information. As you veterans hear enough, you can log off. And then on the back end of the call, I'll have more detail for our brand new people, T-ball, 6U. And of course, you can stay after and ask questions if you have any. If you'd rather just put your question in an email, I provided that email to your that email address to your email. Okay, so let's get started. First, just a big overview. One thing I learned when I joined Sienna Baseball years ago was everyone thought I knew more than I actually knew. And now I've caught myself in the same position. I go around talking to families, and I think that you have all the information I have in my head, which you don't. So I want to put it all out there. I'm going to hang this whole video too on our website so that you can go back and review it later, hold me accountable to the things I'm saying. But we're a 501c full of volunteers. Our coaches, our board, everyone's a volunteer. We do not have volunteer umpires. They are paid, and I'll get to that a little bit later on why that's important. But they are a third-party service that we pay for. We are not Little League USA. A lot of people will ask that question, why are you not Little League? It's a great question, and we could go down a rabbit hole on that. But the only reason I can bring it up right now is when you're buying bats, new bats. Since we're a private league, we can use whatever bat stamp we want, that being USA or USSSA. So if you're a new parent out there and you're like, what bat do I get my kid? You can buy either one, USA or USSSA. We're a private league and we allow both. Little League only allows USA. And again, I can go down the reasons for that. Most of you know this, so you're wishing that I just move on. But if you are a new person, you want to know more about the why, it's safety and other reasons are involved on why there's different bat, whatever that word is that oversees the safety of them. We, Sienna Baseball, are the primary user for baseball activities at Camp Sienna through Split. Every sport you see out there has a contract with the Split as a primary user. Sienna Baseball is that primary user. I know we're the biggest show in town out there, us with our sister program softball. The reason I bring that up is we are constantly in talks with Split. A lot of the things might not make sense at your or my level sometimes, but it could be something that the Split is requiring us to do, or just an agreement we have with them that we're trying to navigate through. While we're on the word of Split, I know we have meetings all the time with them. One thing they have impressed upon us this coming year is if we not have as much trash left behind and seeds on the field, just things that don't keep our facilities nice. So I do want to just bring that up just as like a little PSA for everyone. If you could just let's look after ourselves and pick our stuff up. If we don't do that as a board, we'll probably hire a high school kid to come in at the end of the night, $20 for him to come pick up trash. But ideally, we can just pick up after ourselves, and we don't get to that point. But that's just my little thing for Split. Split's doing so many improvements for us. Derek Davis is our facilities safety guy on the board. We've given them a list a couple of years ago, a wish list, and they have gone through and added so many things, and you're going to see so many more things added out there at Camp Sienna. A big one you're going to notice that's nice is they've AC'd the bathrooms. You'll now have air conditioning when you go in the bathroom, so it'll still stink, but it'll be a cold stink instead of a hot stink. Concessions is going to be air conditioned. You've seen a lot of the bullpens go up around fields 1 through 4. If you've been out there lately, the softball fields are being converted into turf, which is great for them. Rain would always kill their program, so fields, I know you don't know the numbers probably, but fields 7 and 8 will now be turfed. And within a year, field 6, which is that far right one, is going to be converted to look identical to field 5, which is the real big, nice baseball field you see. So we'll have 2 of those. Even further down the line, you've seen some new parking go in, and the trees that are in that direction, a brand new quad is going to go in. 4 brand new fields with a new concession stand, probably AC'd. We've heard about 2 years. We all know how those things goes with timelines, but the funding is there. Last I heard, they're going through environmental studies or just a lot of the things that need to be put in the front loaded before you can do something like that. But that is the plan that we've heard. Of course, subject to change, but we'll get 4 more fields out there. The reason I even bring that up is because we do have a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot, we have very few fields and we have to share them. And that causes a little bit of consternation sometimes and conflict between when can I practice, when are our games, when does select play, when does rec play. When we get 4 new fields, it really opens up a lot for us. And as long as we do a good job right now of keeping you excited about baseball and keeping your sons and daughters in baseball, I feel that we'll grow into that. I know Alan Hughes is the new president over there at Sienna Softball. He took over for Jocelyn, who did a great job. He wants to see his program grow as much as I do. So you're going to be seeing lots of us just trying to do the right things, make the program grow from with you guys. And it's a lot more into that than you would think. We will be having a board meeting tomorrow night to answer a lot of the questions that I'm going to throw out to you right now that are still questions, but we'll have answers to a lot of these questions tomorrow night at our board meeting. What am I at? 8:06? All right. Let's see. So I brought up the fields being turfed by softball. The reason that's important is that's going to bring a challenge to us to start this season. We are going to share field space with softball to start the year because I doubt those fields are going to be done in the next couple of weeks. Our scheduler, Wesley, he is hard at work. Travis, he's hard at work. They're trying to get everything lined up so that softball has as little impact to their young kids as our young baseball players do. But you are going to see a little bit of that extra crowds, extra activity at the cages and the fields while we wait for softball fields to be turfed. Okay, evals. If you're a veteran and your kid played in the fall, you can kind of tune me out for the next minute or two, or I'm sorry, in the spring. But if you're new or your son or daughter did not play last spring, we have evals coming up this Saturday. We do not have a time schedule yet, and you wonder why. It's only 4 or 5 days in advance. Well, we are trying to decide if we're going to need to combine some divisions or separate divisions. And my personal opinion up front, I always push to separate the divisions. I find so much value in 9-year-olds playing with 9-year-olds. It's the first year of pitching. We close the bases, which means no leadoffs, and it lets that pitcher catcher and the batter, for that fact, get more comfortable with kid pitch. When you bring in a bunch of 10-year-olds who've done it for a year, they kind of run the show. And of course, there's pros and cons of that. If there's a 10-year-old who's doing a good job, now a 9-year-old has someone to emulate or want to be like. So there's not all bad things, in my opinion, about combining divisions. But my opinion, find more positives when we separate the kids out. I like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all to be on their own. Let me share my screen. One of the things you're going to learn that I love about my position is that was not it. I like to be as transparent with our program as possible. And the reason I'm bringing that up right now is I'm going to share my screen with you. Hopefully you can see it and that I'm doing this correctly. If you look down here at the bottom where my mouse is moving, these are our total registrations right now in the fall. We're about where we're normally at. We're right under 400. Within the next week, everyone that forgot or didn't register in time will be sending us emails asking to join. We always get about 25 to 30 of those emails. Half of them are T-ballers because a new T-baller, starts kindergarten, goes to school, and the moms get to talking with the dads, and they didn't realize that we even had baseball back here because they're new to the whole show. So you'll see that number bump up a little bit. The reason I brought it up is I just wanted to show you where we're at with each division. Here in the middle, you can see 10U has 49 kids signed up. 9U, 48. 8U, 43. 7U, 53. On and on. Our threshold that we set as a league is if I can get 4 and maybe even 5 teams in a division, we let that division run on its own. If it's 3 or 4,
BJ, you're not sharing your screen. We can't see
oh,
you.
that's terrible. Now am I?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I am pretty not smart. All right. Again, down at the bottom, just a quick summary. You can see total registrations 393. Some of these other things are what volunteers, play ups and play outs. That's also something some of you always request. Can my kid play up an age group? So we have to sort that out here in what I call administrative week before we get a real solid number. But as you can see, I'm sorry the screen wasn't showing before, but now it is. Everyone's kind of in that high 40, low 50 number, which should give us about that 4 or 5 team, where I hope we will split each division into its own. The board will decide that tomorrow night. They know my opinion, so I'll pretty much be quiet at the board meeting and let the majority rule. I see someone shaking their head no. Is it still not sharing?
No, we can see.
Okay, sorry. So that's where I'm at on that. Again, we'll have some people still register, and we'll get those numbers bumped up even more. The other thing we look at, and I won't click on it to embarrass anyone, but we have all of our total volunteers. Each of our division coordinators goes into that link and sees who has signed up to be a coach. He then starts matching how many total head coaches he has to the division. What I saw so far was really healthy, which made me very pleased to see that we have more requests this year to be head coaches as opposed to other years where we have to kind of twist some arms. If you are a head coach, please go remind your assistant coaches they need to do this. One of our board members in the mesh will be running background checks here soon, and it's better if we just have everybody rather than doing onesie twosies later. Right now we're at 69 volunteers. That number will be up around 150 when it's all said and done. So looking at that, we're probably only about halfway to all of our volunteers registered so far. All right. I'm going to stop the share and go back to me. Let's see. So that's why we don't have an evals time for you Saturday morning yet if you're new. We just got to figure out how many divisions we're even going to have and then slot those out. Okay, something new we're excited about this year. If your ball player's older, and something I'm hoping will be successful, and then we'll move down through the division and apply to all the other divisions. But our juniors division, if you signed up for juniors, which is our 13 to 15-year-olds, you notice at registration we didn't ask for any payment. And we've been communicating with you through email on why that is. We have something that juniors has been not our best foot forward in the past, and we recognize that. So we're trying to throw things at the wall and make things work. My instruction to Mike Schneiders, who is our VP of, he's our vice president, he runs all of rec, was to say yes to all the local leagues in the area, and let's get a master division going. So if we only have 2 13U teams or 2 14U teams, that stinks to just play the same teams over and over again. And maybe that's part of the reason why that division starts to, die out at this age. So what if we threw a wider net? And last I checked, we had a meeting Saturday morning. He had some real positive answers back from 2, 3, 4, and some hooks, some fish hooks in the gills of 4 or 5 more. I don't know what it's going to be this first fall while we try this. But like I said, we're saying yes to everything. I probably didn't explain that correct up front, so I'm apologizing if I'm a little messy with how I'm describing this, but we are just trying to make juniors something that your middle schoolers really want to play. The yeses we have to say yes to, a lot of these other divisions are little league, which means they use those different bats I talked about earlier. They pitch from different distances. Their field dimensions are different dimensions. So we could say, hey, that doesn't match us all day long, but for now, we're going to throw money at it because we inherited some money from this board from years past. So we're not broke, which is nice. By throwing money at it, I'm going to buy bats. We are going to buy bats. to give your players the bats they need to play these other teams. We're not going to put that cost on you. We're just going to do everything we can to make this work. I can't 100% guarantee it's going to work, and I can definitely guarantee it's not going to be clean because there's going to be home and away games. You'll have a Saturday doubleheader in Friendswood, then a Saturday doubleheader next weekend in, Sugar Land West. It's going to be a little messy as we work through it, but if the concept works out, I'm going to bleed that down into majors and then hopefully our younger kid pitch teams in seasons to come. The guys on the board hate me saying this over and over. I'm a big fan of crawl, walk, run. So right now I just want to crawl with this, prove we can do it, take the arrows, take your complaints, see what I need to fix, and then maybe walk next spring with this same plan and find something that you still get that recreation baseball, community baseball, which I love, but a little bit more of a competitive edge to it, where those that are looking for a little bit more, it's not just drop off Timmy and he plays baseball for an hour and a half. We give you mini camps in season. We give you training lessons from people that we pay for you during the year on how to pitch, how to hit. We, do all of these things. I do say all this, and Mike's probably trying to tap me right now. We are going to be asking for any, I'll get into that later with the 13U, Mike. I was talking about the tournament team. Probably a little bit too much to get into right now, but we are talking about a 13U specific tournament team that will offer this fall as well. As that goes back to my crawl, walk, run. If we can make a tournament team of rec kids play once a month in 13U, maybe we can spread that to the other divisions. But he's probably telling me to shut up right now as I'm talking because, again, all this is ingredients that we're just trying to make it better for you guys. I want to see the same faces coming back. I want to see you asking us to join the board. And I definitely want to hear your emails, and your feedback on what we are doing wrong, because we definitely don't have all the answers. A lot of this is trial and error. Okay, let's move on away from juniors. I talked about the divisions and will they be split? That's the biggest email question I usually get or a text message from some of my friends. Hey, are we splitting? Are we splitting? And we will find that out Tuesday night. The board will talk. If you want to come by, we will be at the Sawmill Clubhouse at 6 o'clock having our board meeting. You can hear it for yourself or even speak up if you'd like. We'll be there deciding all these things that are going to be for the fall. Okay, thank you. Registration closed yesterday for rec. I mentioned we'll still get a wait list. If you're select and you're on the call, we will be getting select registration up and running in the next few days. We purposely didn't want to overlap the two. Because there's not really a need for a select to register right away as far as numbers go, because your individual coaches have a better handle on that. But we will have registration up for you. There's still a little bit of what registration may look like as we talk about a board. We want to make sure if your son's playing on a select team in Sienna, you're practicing at that field at that time, and our insurance that we pay for is covering your player. So we're just still kind of peeling that potato to make sure that we are satisfying a lot of different things that we have to satisfy. Let's go down to, if I was in your shoes, what does my money go to? That'd be my big question, because you just probably footed a $250, $300 bill. And if you had two kids like I do, you paid $600. And I was like, man, that seems like a lot of money, $600. And I know everyone wants to tell you inflation and all the other things we hear. But I really, again, I led the call with things are in my head that I want to make sure are in your head. And if enough people want this, again, I love transparency. I will hang this on our website so you can see our numbers on why we charge you what we charge you. In the spring, we actually take a small loss, but we take a loss in the spring because of us buying for some of your players 3 uniforms. We bought them their regular uniform, their intra all-star t-shirt, and then their travel shirt and hat for the road. If your son didn't make all-stars, then obviously you got less out of our program, but we still find value in what we provide you. We do, as a board, make a loss in the spring, which we don't make up for it in the fall, but we definitely just are priced to make sure at least our wheels keep spinning. You'll know up in concessions, I don't charge you, I always hate people say I don't do any of this alone. There's 20 of us on the board that do all of this. We charge as low as we can for a concession. So when your little son or daughter goes up there with $2 in their hand, they can get a Gatorade and a candy bar, We're not trying to gouge you guys. We try to make concessions. And the two ladies that run that, Jamie and Sam, our goal is to break even at the end of the year. Softball helps us with that. Once we pay, all the bills and the different food handlers licenses we got to pay, we'd like to break even. So we don't want to raise any of those prices for you at the concessions. Even though that could be a great moneymaker for us, we all know that we could charge $4 for a Gatorade, or when a lot of the soccer families come over, or lacrosse, we could charge them. But I find it as a community something I don't want to go up there and pay $4 for a Gatorade. So we try to keep the cost low. I hope you appreciate that, and I hope you appreciate the air conditioning in the bathrooms that you fill this year. So again, let's go down through what a lot of your money goes through. One of the biggest things is field rental. That bill is massive, especially as the nights get earlier. We have to turn the lights on earlier. We have to rent those fields. We have to pay for those cages, and we got to pay for those lights. So that bill goes to SPLID, and we pay them monthly, and that's always a good chunk of money. Now, amortized to each kid, it doesn't feel that much of an impact. But when I did my online education math, every time your kid steps on the field for a couple hours, it's about $5 we're paying. That's a little bit rounded up, but it's $4 and change we're paying for your son or daughter to be out there. So with 10, 12 games and the number of practices he or she goes out there and does, you can see that adds up for us. Every year we pay a good hefty insurance bill to cover us and your children out there. That's about $7,000. We're always buying new gear, catcher's mitts. Balls are super expensive. One of those things that I think we just paid a $20,000 bill last season for balls. We buy bats for our older divisions because of the weirdness that they have of drop 3, drop 5, drop 8. So we supplement our older divisions with bats that we pay for. All the mounds out there, we refurbish, we pay for. Those are $500 a pop whenever they go in. The uniforms I spoke to you earlier, we upgraded your uniforms. That shirt and hat you get is about $20 each. Shout out to David Knutson. He's our local Sienna man that prints all those for us. I wish we could give you pants, a belt, and socks. Pants became so difficult to fit to all the different shaped kids we have out there. Some have big booties. Some are built like rails like my little kid. It's just hard to get a pair of pants that fit. So it's better just to put that back on you. And I apologize for that, but it does help all of us kind of in the end. And then, of course, coaches like to kind of customize with a sock and a belt that matches a different way that they want to go. We could probably pay for socks and belts, but if that's the feedback you want, then yeah, that's something we can add because those aren't that expensive. But again, the coaches like to kind of make the outfits look pretty cool because I know I personally put a lot of work into the uniforms that we throw out there. This fall, you're going to see I put way too many hours into the uniforms out there. We got some cool ones coming out that David's printed for us. We're going with minor league teams, so they're going to be kind of fun. Anyway, moving on. CubeSmart, we pay for storage. We learned when we were storing everything in the heat, the heat were ruining our equipment. So I'm sure if you pay for, some type of storage unit, you've realized how much storage is. We're paying $180 a month at the CubeSmart for not a very big space, but it keeps the gear clean, safe for your kids during the off season. Even though we Lysol it all, Derek Davis works his butt off doing that. It still is a cost that we have. Travel All-Star, when we do those tournaments cost us about $500 a team. If you were a coach for that, thank you so much for the hard work you put in June. But we covered those uniforms, those entry costs, and that was an expensive June for us, which is partly why we lose money in June. Umpires, we pay every kid out there, give or take $50 when he's out there. Third-party service ran by our head ump, Gary. When there's 2 umpires, of course, that cost is even higher. You do the math there, those games get quite expensive, and that umpire bill gets into the tens of thousands of dollars for us. This is, again, why your registration fees are higher. Background checks. Anybody that interacts with your kid on the field, coaches and assistant coaches, we pay for a background check. That's about $17 is the going rate. But we want to make sure we have the right people out there around your little kids. Sports Engine, the app that most of you probably go nuts about because it logs you out, and then it's, we all have our complaints, myself included. Every time you register, they take like $10 off the top right away. So to give us the app they give us. Wesley, our IT stud, registration stud, head scheduler, him and I have talked about looking into a new app to run or a whole new platform to run. But right now it's the devil we know. and we'll just keep muddling through it for now, but they take their cut. And then things that you'll see that I don't really roll into your cost, but we're going to pay for some paid coaching this year. If your son's in 9 or 10U, we're going to pay one of our local, gurus to come out and teach your kids the proper mechanics and pitching, batting. We have volunteer coaches, and as you all know, sometimes you get a coach that, man, he knows his stuff. Like this guy must not watch Netflix. He must watch YouTube, TikTok, baseball videos all night because he's on point. And then we have someone who's just a sweetheart wanting to be with their son and be part of it and he's there for the right reasons, but his baseball knowledge is a little lacking. So our range of volunteers is wide. So we understand that we can supplement that by paying for some of these paid coaches or offering these mini camps in season. All right, I'm at 8:25. The last 5 minutes here, I'd like to open up, and I don't mean just 5 minutes. We can go on for a half hour if you'd like. I've told my kids they got to be in bed at 8:30. I'm sure you all have the same, unless you, cast that out to your spouse. But let me open this up for questions. Let me make sure I can someone go first and see if they can unmute themselves while we make this work.
Yep.
There we go. I got Reed. You're unmuted. Go, sir.
I just wanted to know what that list that you showed, it said the quantity number, is that the number of teams or the number of players?
Great question. That is the number of players. So if you're in which division your son in?
T-ball.
T-ball. T-ball right now. T-ball is always low in the fall. And the reason that is you're just getting your kid into this whole crazy mess. So the word hasn't quite spread among your sons and daughters. So T-ball, like you see right now, our number is 44 kids. In the spring, we were well over 100 because by that point, you'd spend a kindergarten half a year together and we get a lot more T-ball kids. My big goal with T-ball is to break your team down as small as possible. So as long as we have the volunteers, I would love your T-ball team to only be 8 or 9 players. And for some of my veterans on here, you've probably been a coach where there's been 11 or 12 T-ballers, and that's just, insult to already a tough situation. But right now, ma'am, it's 44 T-ballers. It is low on the lower end, which we probably need to work on that.
Hey BJ, thank you for answering that. This is the dad. If the evaluations this Saturday, we have a 5-year-old, and is there a 6U coach pitch?
Yes. So when you come to evaluations on Saturday, we do the 6-year-olds first. Ben Webb, he's a sweetheart. He goes out there with 50 new 5 and 6-year-olds. We do the evaluation. The way it goes right now, if your son or daughter is a T-baller wanting to play in coach pitch, they'll do hitting, they'll do throwing, just a few things that Ben will run them through. On a scale of 1 to 5, if they rate a 3, then you have the option from us to go ahead and move up to 6U, but we put it back on you. If they're a 1 or 2, then we just have that conversation, say, hey, maybe another season of T-ball is in your best interest.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Miss Perry, go ahead.
I stepped in for. Is there anything that is required or that's needed for this Saturday's practice?
Great question. Sorry, I didn't address that. I would say the only thing that's needed is a glove. You're going to want to have your own glove. What's close to needed is maybe their own helmet. I know when we were all young, we all shared helmets. It seems that's just the norm now. Everyone has their own helmet for whatever reasons. I would hold off on buying a bat if you're new, because some of the information I gave earlier about bat stamps may have flew over your head, or you may buy a bat that's too big. We all kind of do that balancing act of you want to buy the right size bat for your little one, so maybe I'll go a little bigger and they can go into it, so I'm not dropping another couple $100 in 1 year. But at the same time, if you go too big, now all of a sudden your kid struggles their first season of T-ball or 6U because the bat's a little too big for them. But to answer your question, a glove, maybe a helmet, but not necessary. Bats not needed at this point. The little kids love to share. And then you can wear cleats. We have turf. A lot of kids get away with tennis shoes or turf cleats. I would say more of them wear the actual molded plastic cleats. No metal cleats are allowed. It tears up our fields. But cleats is something you can worry about down the road if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Next up.
Do you have any idea when the last week of games are or playoff week?
Absolutely. Let me share my screen again. Again, this is one of those things where I think it's common knowledge and I'm wrong. So let me go to hopefully this is being shared. Someone speak up if I'm not sharing. So here's November's calendar. We post all this on the website. You can see that playoffs will begin on November 11th and then finish, which we call Championship Saturday, on November 16th. If your son or daughter is selected for All-Stars, that's the following Monday and Wednesday only, wrapped up well before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's late this year. It's the 28th. So we'll be all wrapped up well before that. Now, of course, rain can be something that really can blow a hole in a lot of this in the best planning. And then with the same calendar, you can go back to August and see we have everything on here for this month just to put on your calendar. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Jay?
BJ, what age groups do All Stars start at? Just curious for younger parents.
Yeah, great question. We start All Stars right away at coach pitch age 6. We have kicked around how to do something with T-ball, but 6 is where we start All Stars. Now in the fall, we don't do the travel All Stars. We do one practice on that Monday, and then we have an intra All-Star game on Wednesday, and then we're done for the fall. Everyone, it's getting cold. It's time for Thanksgiving. In the spring, it gets much more involved, and we then go on the road. On the road is 7U and up, but I did notice this year that more of the programs that we play out there were including 6-year-olds. I find that to be a mixed bag, but if you come back in the spring, which I hope you do, you'll see that you can travel for All Stars starting at age 7, if not 6.
And you did say that it's done, like it's the end of the 16th, and we're done with All Stars that following week, right? Just make sure I understood that correctly.
Yes, let me bring that back up. Yes, so let me show it again. Maybe my
No, you should. I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. All Stars is only like an extra week. Yeah.
Yes, All-Star. So the practice, I need to put practice right here on the 18th. That is All-Star practice on the 18th. And then the All-Star game is on the 20th. And that's it. Wednesday the 20th. You can throw that baseball bag in the back of the closet.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, sorry I joined in late. When are the coaches and the assistant coaches be assigned to the teams? I
Okay.
registered myself as a volunteer, so.
No, great question. We have a board meeting tomorrow night. So step 1 is us determining which divisions are going to stand on their own. Once we have that determination made, then Wesley and a few of our other registration guys are matching, and the division coordinators. We have a division coordinator, what we will call a DC, assigned to each division. That's your belly button that you get to poke other than your coach all year long. I don't like to bring this up, but if you had a problem with your coach, that would be the person you could go to. But your division coordinator is behind the scenes making all this happen. Back to your question, though, tomorrow night, we decide which divisions we have, and then we match how many coaches we have to the teams in that division. And then we quickly start setting that up before Saturday, because at Saturday's evaluation, we need every coach to be out there watching the evaluation, because then the following Monday is when we have the draft. I'm going to share screen again back to what's coming up here in August, because I do think this is important to cover. So, board meeting tomorrow night, evaluations happening Saturday. So all the coaches must be, identified by Saturday. Quick turn, 2 days later on Monday night, we're having draft night. The wizard behind the scenes, Wesley, came up with a great idea this year. We used to have draft nights just happen all over the place during that following week. He had a great idea. We're going to bring in some food. We're going to bring all the coaches together. We're going to do all the younger kids draft first, hang around, meet our head umpire, Gary, go over some rules real quick. So in that overlap, we have the the younger team coaches and the older team coaches hearing this from Gary. Then the younger teams leave. We start the draft for the older teams. It's all done in one place on one night, which is going to be August 19th. So we'll have about 40 coaches plus all of their assistants in one spot. And then within days after that, you'll get that initial welcome email from your coach, because we have set up for practices to start on the 24th. If you don't practice on the 24th, don't panic, but I would maybe ask questions to your neighbor or email our league inbox. Sometimes a coach, a lot of us have jobs and they just can't get that initial email out quick enough to get a Saturday practice lined up. And oh, by the way, no one's in a hurry when it's 103 degrees and you have the 2 p.m. Saturday practice. That's my big stinker about fall is, it's just so hot at first, but the silver lining is every time you show up, it theoretically gets cooler until, we have heaters in the dugouts come November.
So I'm seeing these two events on the 19th. One is at 5:30, another one is at 6, but I think the place is different. One is at Sawmill, the other one is at Scanlon.
Yeah, that's just an administrative error on my part. I'll clean that up. Only one of them should be there.
Okay.
The draft and Wesley, I may have this wrong, but I'm pretty sure the draft is 6 to 9:30, and with that umpire meeting somewhere in the middle around 7:30.
Okay, thank you.
Before our next question rolls in real quick, I see I just want to address the reason we're having the umpires come out is, those are young umpires out there, and we've all seen the memes, we've all had the conversations. It gets heated out there sometimes, and it's just a meeting we find important. I even found myself in a situation this year where it's just important for us to all have that face-to-face with the umpires, setting those expectations of how we're going to treat each other, and knowing the kids are watching, and those kids are umpires. I mean, I call them kids and they don't like it, but a lot of them are, high school kids. They're in their early 20s. I know some of our kids are going to be umpires out there in a few years, and I don't want any grown 40-year-old man, making my son feel a certain way when he's out there umpiring. So we're just going to have a little heart-to-heart with all the coaches and hopefully head anything off before it gets started.
Hey, BJ.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for sharing that. Two-part question. For 6U coach pitch, is it regular hard baseballs or is it rubber balls?
I believe we are hard baseballs. One of you board members, if you want to text me the correct answer, I believe T-ball uses that squishy bounce ball. We use the hard, they moved to the hard ball. The reason I say I believe that's correct is when we went on the road, some of the other leagues, so Jesse just put in there, it was hard the last 2 seasons. Thanks, Jesse. Some of the other leagues with their 6-year-olds still use the squishy ball, which of course kind of threw our 6-year-olds for a loop because they're used to fielding a hard ball on an AstroTurf, and now they're fielding a bouncy ball on grass. So it was kind of a, shock to their system, but we use the harder ball at 6U.
Okay. Second part of the question for the evaluation Saturday, it says 9 to 2. Is that like broken down by age, or are you out there literally from 9 to 2, or when you're done being evaluated, you can leave?
Outstanding question. You will only be out there suffering for, I hope, 30, 45 minutes max.
Okay, thank you.
We will, yep, I'll just keep yapping. We will get the younger kids started first. They're already up anyway. They're usually early risers. We'll get you out there when it's cooler. Ben usually gets that kicked off at 8, 9 in the morning. And then because you would think then we would just, as you get older, it gets later. But because of different reasons, it gets a little choppy. And maybe then the old kids are starting on a field next to you. So that's why we just haven't released that schedule yet. But I can pretty much guarantee if your son's T-ballers are trying to play in 6U or 6U, you'll be out there early morning Saturday. Everyone else, just hold on. We'll get that schedule out soon. I hope it doesn't go till 2 o'clock because that sounds like a really hot part of the day. But we should be wrapped up by 11 or 12. That's usually what happens. This is probably my 8th or 9th evaluation that we've done, and we're usually wrapped up by noon.
I had an additional question for evaluations. If it's you just have a like new T-baller not wanting to play 6U, they do not have to come to that, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us an idea of what days, I guess, practices are versus games?
Fantastic. I'm glad you guys are asking these questions because I'm going to put a lot of this in FAQs on our website. I did FAQs about a month ago, and I did a terrible job. I need to go back in and put these type of questions on there, but good question. So for recreation baseball, if you're select on the call, you do Tuesday, Thursday practices at Sienna, and then sometimes on Sundays. If you're recreation baseball, which 90% of us are on this call, your days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Those are only possible days. That doesn't mean you're going to be out there all 4 of those days. Just in your head, if you have another activity your son's doing like soccer or karate, your possible days with baseball are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Usually you get 2 baseball events a week, usually 1 practice and 1 game. So you may have a practice on a Monday, game on a Friday, game on a Wednesday the next week, practice on Saturday. Wesley, I keep burning his name up, but he's the one who builds this Skittles bowl of colors and days and times. What you can kind of plan on, other than those days I said, if your kid is coach pitch, meaning they're 8 or younger, you'll be out there from that 5 to 7 p.m. time block. If your kid is 9 or older, you'll be out there from that 7 to 9 p.m. time block. I know you don't like that 9 p.m. I don't. I have a 10 and a 12-year-old. But the only way to push that left or right is then make the younger kids get there earlier than 5 o'clock. And when parents have jobs, we just had to find that perfect 4 hours and cut it in the middle. Maybe Wesley will do some miracles with the schedule this year and try to find a free field and slide some of those later games earlier. But like I said, with us sharing, if you were on the call to start with, we're sharing with softball to start the year. It's going to be a little bit of a shell game, making sure we satisfy. I want every softball girl and every baseball boy and girl to get as many practices and games out there this fall as they can get. End of yapping. I hope that answered your question. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays. While I wait for the next question to come up, if there is one, I think we are pressing forward with, I see your thank you. You're welcome, Christina. I think we're pressing forward with games are going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and practices will be on Saturdays. Friday, maybe a mixture, if not a weather overflow. This is the last thing that Wesley said to me, probably in confidence, not to give out to 90 people. But that was kind of what he was looking at, maybe games on Mondays and Wednesdays and practices on Saturdays. We all know the fall, you have other events, flag football, maybe tackle football, lacrosse. There's lots of things you're competing with, soccer. So we'd like to get this out to you as much as possible. And that's why we said maybe we'll just practice on Saturdays, knowing that a lot of your soccer games are Saturday mornings. It's just us trying to satisfy as many people as we can knowing that we're definitely not going to satisfy everyone. You're
I'm
welcome.
not sure I caught like when construction's going to start, but any conversation about parking, it's getting tough out there.
Boy, you ain't kidding. Parking, I know I get a message usually, within the first week, I'll get a message from SPLID letting me know that we can't park in the grass. Or you've seen the people that kind of are clever and they park kind of in the spots where it's not really a spot. And then all of a sudden we start parking over in softball's area, which I know softball probably loves. And then we start parking over in soccer. Parking is just a mess. To alleviate that, SPLID did create that just kind of that rough, rocky area last year as for an overflow. I know it's not ideal, and especially during that when games start, everyone that's there for the younger kid games have already got a parking spot. And if you're bringing your 9-year-old to his warm-ups, because we usually warm up, if he has a 7:30 game, he's usually there at 6:30 to warm up. There's zero parking at that time. I apologize for that. I really don't have a good answer for that. I know they're aware of the parking issue, which is why they built that extra overflow for us. And I will keep bringing that up. SPLID holds a board meeting. The SPLID board holds a board meeting that we attend. And I'll ring that bell again, but it's not something they don't know already. It's just, thankfully, we're popular with all these sports out there at Camp Sienna, and it's a good problem to have.
I just had a quick clarifying question. My son's going to be turning 9 soon, so I'm not sure exactly which one or 10, I'm sorry, 10 soon. And so I thought I heard you say for evaluations, and I'm assuming for the season, he'll need to have his own helmet.
So he'll want his own glove for sure. Helmet is what most people tend to want. I don't know when this changed, but people just tend to want to have their own helmet for their kid. Maybe because when he practices at home, or maybe because of, the dreaded lice we hear about. One kid gets lice and then we share it all around. I don't know, but helmets run about 40, $50. So it's one of those things where you're kind of like, we do have a couple extra ones up in the back of concessions that no one has claimed. You're willing to come Lysol spray one of those and take one if you'd like. But I wouldn't say he needs a batting helmet, but you're probably going to want to get one at some point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, BJ, two quick questions. Do they have a timeline on when the schedule for practices and games will come out? And then is the meet the coach night, is that like a requirement, or is that just a, come if you'd like?
Good question. The schedule is always the number one question, especially after evals happens. So a funny thing happens at evals. You tell your neighbor we're going to baseball evals this Saturday, and all of a sudden we get blown up by a lot of people that want to now join baseball. So all the stuff I told you about earlier with these numbers and coaches that we're trying to like perfectly match up here, now all of a sudden you inject a bunch of people that are wanting to be part of it. So that happens. So we're trying to sort through that with the manpower that we have, all the while trying to get, okay, so how many teams do we have now? Because we had an inject of more people, which then shuffles the whole schedule even more. We will get that schedule out to you. The great thing about Wesley is he's a guru, a business analyst. He impresses me with the way he does things on the back end. And as opposed to me, who was pencil papering, schedules, he'll be quick as he can be with it. I cannot give you a date when he will have that practice and game schedule out. He, once we draft those teams on August 19th, he'll be getting questions from us daily on the 20th, on the 21st, on the 22nd, asking for at least the practice schedule and then the game schedule. I don't think games start until, let me just look. September 9th is what he has, Monday the 9th. That's the week after Labor Day Monday. Games will start. So we usually give him another couple days after he releases the practice schedule to get the game schedule out. And then your second part of your question was, is it kind of a mandatory thing for the face-to-face? If you're a coach, this face-to-face that's going to happen with the head umpire, if you're a coach, you have to come that night anyway because you're drafting your team. I would encourage coaches to bring their assistant coaches. so they can also hear from the horse's mouth of Gary. There's so many questions about rules. Ben Webb is one of our board members, and he is our rules guy. And boy, rules is one of those things where even when we write the perfect rule, the application of that rule becomes difficult at times. Your application is different than my application, so we have to kind of tweak the rules. It's just a difficult thing to, the Major League Baseball rule book, if you ever looked, is like, I think it's 90 pages for a silly game of hitting a ball. So there's just so many things, and I doubt things are even covered. Everything can be covered in there. That's a lot of yapping for me to say. Mandatory for your head coach at that meeting on the 19th, but not mandatory for your assistant coaches. Hope that answered your question, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. We still have 85 on the call, so anyone else have a question they
We
want
have
to
quite a few questions in the chat that I'm not sure got all answered.
Go ahead. Rocio, I thought you
Hi, I
had.
have a question.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Harlan.
Hi, quick question. So it's our first year. My son is doing T-ball. Is draft night still something he needs to attend, even if he's not doing the 6U experience?
Great question. No, T-ball, and this is the only division we allow this. T-ball, you can call all your friends and you guys can build whatever team you want. You can put all your friends group together on the same T-ball team, sucker one of your parents into being coach, and we will make that happen for you. 6U is where league parity becomes extremely important to someone like myself and the others that run community baseball. And league parity, we have to, which is the reason for evaluations. We want to make sure my goal, and a lot of you have heard me say this if you've been around, my goal is for every team to go 5-5 or 6-6 on the season. If your team went undefeated or your team didn't win a game, we did something wrong because your team wasn't balanced correctly. That starts at 6U and up. T-ball, have at it, play with your friends, learn the game, and no evaluations for T-ballers.
So there's no team already organized for them? Sorry.
So if you saw on that sheet I showed earlier, Derek Davis is our T-ball guy. He's going to go through. He's already had one team volunteer as a head coach, and he emailed his friend group that they want. So then he'll go through and find the next person that volunteered to be a coach, and he'll go through emails that he has read about people requesting, hey, can my daughter be with, my friend's son? He will make those happen, and then he'll put them together on a team that he creates. If he gets no email, then it's just random, and they're randomly assigned.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, BJ, who do you email to make that request?
Derek is the one who goes through it. If you just email that siennayouthbaseball@gmail.com, he got access to that email last night, sucker. So he'll be going through there looking for anybody that's requesting a T-ball pair-up.
My wife off screen informed me that apparently my son wants to play with someone, so thanks.
We will make that happen, Jesse. Thank you.
Hey, BJ, can you hear me?
Yes, John.
Hey, quick question. 6U and up, how many assistant coaches can you have?
That is a great question. So
that's been a thing in the past. So
no, and it's a great question, John. I'm actually going to yap about this for an extra minute or two because this really is a great question. Come to the board meeting, by the way, John. That's my sales pitch to you.
When are you having it, really?
It's tomorrow night at 6. So
okay.
Right now, 6U and up, you can have 3 players protected. What that means is the coach, of course, gets his son.
Right.
His assistant coach gets his son. And then whether it's a team parent, team mom, or another assistant coach, those 3 can group up together and they're protected on the same team. And then at draft night, he drafts through a snake draft the rest of his team. The reason I said I'm going to go on a little longer is I know we have a community member coming wanting to see us move up to 4 protected players, which we have done in the past because there's a great argument for it. whether it be a friend group that you want to keep together, whether it be what I saw firsthand this season when some other communities came down and played us. Sienna Baseball did great. We got to a lot of championship games. Grimsley navigated his team to a championship game. I got my team to a championship game, but we got whooped out there because they allow more kids to be protected together on a team.
Gotcha.
The reason I don't allow that, or the reason I'm kind of against one league specifically, allows up to 9 kids to be protected as they move forward through the seasons. The reason I don't want to go that far forward is this is going to be like my 32nd team coached out here from T-ball on up. And I love that our kids break off into new teams. They make new friends. They keep some friends. They lose some friends. I know Select would argue that they create a team and those 10, 12 families get a really tight bond as they progress. And I'm not saying anything's, negative against that. But I'm saying from community baseball, which is what we offer out here, and that's what our primary user agreement that I signed with the split says, we're offering community baseball. And to me, community baseball is let's pull the community in, and how do we balance satisfying you guys? You want to have maybe 4 kids together instead of 3, but maybe we don't have 9 kids stay together, because then what if you get a situation where this group of 9 just dominates? And then every year, me and Jesse go play this team, and we know we're going to get smoked by them because they have the same 9 kids and that they've coached up very well. So to me, there's some middle ground in there. I'm a big fan of keeping it at 3 to 4 kids that we protect from 6U and up. Like I said, someone's coming to the board meeting to give his thoughts on we need to go to 4. We've done it before, and we'll listen to the discussion and we'll put it up to a vote. And we'll see if we stay at 3 or move to 4. My one last little caveat, John, on why sometimes 3 is better than 4. When you get to the older kids, if a team puts together 4 of stud pitchers and catchers, and one team has those 3 or 4 studs, well, there's not a whole lot of stud pitchers and catchers to go to the other teams.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we have one team running shop going 12-0, and I just don't like seeing a team go 12-0 and another team go 0-12 because they have no pitcher when we say it's community baseball and about development. Not to mention, if you put those 4 studs together, a Rec 9U baseball game goes about 2.5 innings. So, all 4 of them aren't going to get to pitch a whole lot. You're going to pitch every other game. So there's some argument to split those studs up a little bit, or studettes. Split those up, because if Bella's mom's listening, Bella, she's a studette. She will mow down an 11-year-old boy batter any day. There's some argument to, spread that out a little bit. John, did I yammer on too long about that?
No, you did great, man. I agree. I think 3 to 4 is perfect, honestly. So, no, you're good. That's
okay.
Great. Thanks,
I'm
man.
glad you agree. It is just tough to go get whooped in travel baseball. At the Metro tournament that we hosted here, there were some teams that came and it was impressive to watch, but
No, I agree,
we
man.
want to go full tilt that way. I just don't think so.
Nah, not at all. No, I think, with the league, I think 3 to 4 is perfect, honestly.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's why we have select. If you're on a path to go that direction, then
100%. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. All right, we're still at 72. I'm surprised 72 of you still are listening to my yapping. David, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question about evaluations for the little kids again. Is it an immediate evaluation, or is it like a call later in the week?
The evaluation happens on site, but we don't share that information with everyone, just because who wants to get into that whole thing? Unless you're trying to qualify for a higher division, then of course we would let the parent know they've qualified to play up or not.
Yeah, I have a 6-year-old coming off a T-ball I would like to give him the coach pitch ideally, but if he's not ready for the evaluation, it's fine. I just want to know when I would find the information out. That's all.
We will tell you Saturday morning.
Okay.
For everyone else on the call, I hope I don't know if I set this call up for an hour or an hour and a half. If we hit an hour and it cuts off, I apologize. Let me see if I can change it to an hour and a half on the fly here, but I'm just kind of giving that forewarning. Next question, please.
How are the All-Stars evaluated? Is there any stats kept?
There are stats kept for the All-Stars. Boy, that's a landmine field that go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you added something. That's a landmine field because, perception is everything, and I see one player differently than someone else sees another player. That is a call we could have for an hour about just that topic. But yes, your coach will give an evaluation to at the end of the season, your coach will give an evaluation. So we have evaluation coming this Saturday, which is to get our season started. When the season's over, because if you recall, I said to the parents that have already played in the spring, they don't need to come to evaluation. That's because their son or daughter was given a rating when they ended last season. So the coach, his job is to go give that rating, broken down from pitching, base running, coachability, which is kind of attitude. Lots of stuff goes into this rating that we kind of keep that close hold just because can you imagine if I posted that on the website? I would be fired the next day because of just different reasons that people would see on there. But that was a very clumsy way of answering your question.
Hey, I have a question.
Yes.
My kid is a first-time T-baller. He is on the younger side, so he's 3 3/4. It allowed me to sign him up, but gave me a message that I may have to coach. When do I find that out, or what? I guess what is the process? I would like not to coach if possible, but don't know how that works.
Okay. Great question. And I'm gonna be honest. My favorite my favorite 3 words that I love to hear from people is "I don't know." I don't think enough of us say that. I don't know, but here's what I do know. We have an entry age. We don't want any kids out there in diapers still, right? But we have noticed some kids are just ready for baseball when they're 3. So we do have, when Wesley sets up a registration, he does allow for some 3-year-olds to register, but the parent has to buy that team, meaning that parent that wants that 3-year-old to play has to be the coach of that team. It's a good compromise that we give. We've had in the past where we've had enough coaches and we didn't need that 3-year-old parent. But if you do want your 3-year-old to play, that's kind of the hook we sink into you that we may need you to coach.
And when do I find that out?
I will talk to Wesley after this call or tomorrow and see. Derek's our T-ball guy. Wesley's our registration guy. That's something they'll get together on. If not today or tomorrow, at our board meeting, we'll have a breakout tomorrow night. So we'll make sure, Jaden, we get that. Is that your name, Jaden?
That's my kid's name. I don't know why it showed up his Zoom information.
Okay, Mr. De La Cruz, I'll have Derek specifically reach out to you. Because I guarantee there's probably only a couple of you in that boat, but we'll get you that information, sir.
Sounds good. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Well, we didn't get cut off, so I guess I set the call for an hour and a half. We're down to 55 participants. How you doing, Antone?
Good, man. I got a question for you.
Hit me.
I know in the younger age groups, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but once your kid gets up into 9, 10, 11U, your catcher becomes very important. There's no rating on our rating systems at the end of the season for catchers for that position, and it's a very important position. Just wanted to bring that up and see if that's something that might possibly can be added to that.
I'm actually embarrassed that we don't already do that, Alan. I apologize. We will now have a catcher's column on the rating sheet, and we'll, much as we do with the pitchers, if a kid doesn't pitch during the season, he doesn't get a pitcher's rating, obviously, but if a kid does pitch, we usually give him that rating of, if he's pitching, he's probably already going to be a 3 or 4 or 5 on a scale of 1 to 5. So we'll do the same thing with catchers. If they've caught in a game, then we'll have the coach give them, a 3, 4, or 5. Again, I'm embarrassed we don't already do that. That's 32 teams I've coached, and I haven't thought of that, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. My message to take the garbage cans to the curb. Who's next?
Thanks for reminding me.
Nothing's more sad than the garbage truck driving away when you have a stinky garbage can.
Thankfully, I work from home, and if I hear him, I can run out there and do it.
BJ, I'll throw this one out there.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I can make it tomorrow, but I don't have any in T-ball anymore. But have you guys ever considered splitting the 4 and 5-year-olds within T-ball and taking the 5-year-olds and actually having more of a game to prepare them more for 6U?
Yes, absolutely, John. So, matter of fact, when Derek, who now runs T-ball, he kind of shadowed me last season as I ran T-ball, and we kind of took the temperature of the room for the T-ballers, asking if they would like a more competitive T-ball, like you just said, dividing 4 and 5, or calling like a upper and a lower T-ball,
Right.
so parents could pick the one they want. But surprisingly, most were just not interested, and I was kind of shocked. We even asked, "Hey, would you like to do some kind of postseason?" T-ball just kind of ends at the 10th game, and we all wave goodbye to each other after we get our little trophy. I was like, "Do you want to do some kind of tournament? Like, not even a tournament. How about your 10th game be your championship game?" So, there's a winner, there's a loser. We kicked out a lot of things, and you've done lots of T-ball just like myself. I think a lot of T-ball moms and dads and coaches are just about done with T-ball when the end of the season comes. But it's a great thing to readdress. Maybe we can see if we want to do like a preparatory T-ball. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, man. I don't have any in the age group anymore, but I do know that I know everybody's worry is like when they come into 6U, even if they're playing up, like, are they ready? Are they not ready? But
yeah.
I think if we give them some more basics on an upper level at that age, if they're ready for it, it may be beneficial to them going into 6U.
No, it's a great point. I would say the way we've done it in the past is, when you first get into 6U, the first 4 games, you still use the T.
Sure.
That kind of bridges it, but it's still going to be a shock if a kid hasn't had the ball thrown at him. I mean, he's striking out after 5 or 6 pitches. So I actually love the idea, especially in the spring, like with only 43 T-ballers signed up right now. That bums me out. But in the spring when we had 109, that easily could have been divided into, hey, if your kid's going into T-ball next fall, how about you just stay in the lower? But if you're trying to prep for 6U, go to our upper T-ball and we'll get you ready for the fall.
100%.
I'll talk to Derek about that, and we'll see if that's something we can implement, because I think it's a great idea. I didn't get a lot of passion back from T-ball, and I'm not blaming T-ball because they're new and what are we buying into? It's just
BJ, another league that I won't mention, what they do for T-ball is that they score legitimate outs as their score.
Mm-hmm.
So every kid gets to play, every kid gets to hit every inning, and then they just score the outs. So every single time there's a legitimate out, that's a score. So but in my experience, I would say that it's the parents that are typically more competitive than the kids. even in 6U.
Yeah. No, we can't get out of our own way. It's, we all don't think we're that. It's like traffic. You don't think, you're like, why does traffic suck? Well, you are traffic. You're sitting in it, you're causing it. And I think a lot of us don't think we're the problem, but I myself, run, will scream at a poor little kid when he's at third base not running. So, the parents need to kind of check themselves as well. But
even if we lost a game, the kids didn't know the difference.
No. My favorite was one year we won some championship or we lost a championship, and one of my kids came up to me after the ring ceremony and he was like, "Hey coach, did we win?" And I was just like, because of course I knew I won. I'm cheesy walking around with my big plastic trophy, and this 6-year-old's like, "Did we win?" So it kind of helps me. I had the pleasure of going back and watching some of my family play Midwestern baseball out in the country. And it was such a shock to my system because I'll be quick, but a kid overran third. And the opposing coach just told him, "Hey, buddy, hurry up, get back on third. You can't overrun it. You need to get back over there, you know?" And the kid that had the ball, the third baseman, didn't bother tagging him. Everyone just helped that kid get back on third and explained to him that he shouldn't overrun third. I'm on the other side of the fence thinking, what the heck is going on out there? Tag that kid out. But thankfully, the Midwest he still has some good things to bring to the table.
BJ, is there a max pitch count for the kids?
So yes, when your kids start pitching, we max pitch count by innings. There just isn't enough. I don't know if any of you have used Game Changer. You really got to have a parent that's on top of that, clicking pitch, 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 pitch. So what we've learned to do is just make an inning limit. No kid can pitch more than 2 innings. Even if you have a really bad inning, we have that 5-run cap. No kid's going to pitch more than 50, 60 pitches in a game, even if that kid had 2 horrible innings in a row. But when we do travel with these teams and things get more competitive outside of our gates of Sienna, we do get into the actual tracking the individual pitches, and it varies by tournament that we go to.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
BJ, question.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, juniors bats, since we're joining with different leagues, do we follow their bats rules, sizes and stuff?
Yeah, so Glenn, we are going to say yes to everything that the other leagues require of us, and we, the league, are going to buy the bats that your sons need to make this first season happen. I just want proof of concept, make it crawl, see what take the arrows from you parents on where we've screwed this up. Let's see if there's value in it. So we are going to buy the things that you need. We just ask for a little bit of grace as we try to make this work.
Okay. But if you can tell the size of this thing so that we can maybe if we can buy something so we can use it for practice or something instead of using the community bat. What's that size that we're gonna? And is it USA Baseball?
Yeah, so here's where it's tricky. If it's Little League, yes, Little League uses USA Baseball USA Baseball bats because of those pitching distances. It's all about safety. So a USA bat, if you don't know, is, they call it a deader bat. I don't know what that means, but the trampoline effect that happens when a bat hits a ball is less drastic with the USA bat. So ideally, when that ball exit velocity comes off a USA bat, it's not as hard as it is with a UAAA bat. I only say that to say when we play the Little League teams in this thing that we're trying to create, they require a USA bat. So we're going to buy those USA bats, and we're going to buy the various different sizes. But Glenn, we've noticed that there's different all over the boards. Like they're allowing 14-year-olds, so they're doing drop 5s. They're doing drop 3s, but they're doing this distance. Poor Mike has a spreadsheet that he's trying to get everyone to put their pitching distances, their bat requirements, and we're just trying to push all that in there and make something work. So I just can't give you a good answer right now to be like, your son needs a drop 8, of a USA bat. But if you need it, we're going to get it for you to start the season. And then what's going to happen is it may be a different bat he may need for the next Saturday because now I think it was Friendswood or someone else we're pairing up with are great with USSSA bats. They're okay pitching a little further back and using USSSA bats. So now your son can use his USSSA bat. So I know we're walking into a little bit of a crap storm here, but I do find value in your son playing home and away games in a bigger division and going outside of Sienna for the last couple of seasons that he may play baseball before his high school baseball starts.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we actually find it exciting to be traveling, at least closer compared to the travel all stars where we have to travel like, Conroe or we'll take this travel over here. It's actually exciting.
I'm glad you say that. We'll try to not have the games be on weeknights to make it worth your time. We want to do double headers. We'll do them on Saturdays. What I've given or what Mike has accepted, I mean, it's a lot that he said he's going to try to do, Mike Schneiders. But he has some good guys that have volunteered to help where they need. it's just like, what does that mean right now? We just need the other leagues to keep feeding and wanting to work with us. And what I've come to learn, man, is volunteer hours. It's such a precious thing from any of us. And it's just a hard thing to get everybody to come together at the same time to make something like this work.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
For background checks, BJ, if we did one last season for maybe it's 2 seasons ago, it's coming my third season here now in Siena. Do we need to do it every season?
So what I would like us to get to is there's different background checks, like different acronyms that do the background checks and different price structures. Sports Engine now offers one, which was the $17 one I alluded to. I would like to get one and then stick to it because most of them say you don't need to do it again for X number of, seasons. But if we switch to a new background checking system, we're just gonna have to run everybody through initially to get us all thumbs up. It's definitely something that we don't have cleaned up, but we know we need to get it cleaned up and make it really clear because it's important, right? Did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
No, I see. If I see, like I said, I've done it. I think my first season here. No, maybe we did it last. I can't remember if I did it last season or not. I'm just wondering if I need to do it again. So you're saying
Okay.
every season is good?
I don't know. My instinct is we're going to say yes and hopefully do it all based off of what you've already put into Sports Engine. I just don't know if volunteers, I doubt, had to put social security numbers or something into Sports Engine. So there might be a little more effort on your part to go into some type of app and enter something. I'm speaking out of turn, here, but once we get that figured out, like I said, Nimesh Dave has taken that for us, and he's not coming to the board meeting tomorrow night, which is a bummer because he's traveling for work. But he knows that's one thing that we need to get sorted out is who and or what company we're using. And right now we only have 69 volunteers, and I know we're going to get to 150. So I just need to keep shaking the volunteer tree for a little bit longer before we can start the process.
Yeah, I'll go on the website just register, just redo it so I can help out coaching again. No big deal.
Okay.
Will there be like an email to do the background check?
I don't know yet. I'm guessing we will. I just don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have good answers for that.
This is just the first year my husband like volunteered, so.
Okay. Yeah, it's I should have come better prepared to answer that question. I don't have the answer, but I will get it in the next few days.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You said tomorrow is at Sawmill. That's Sawmill Club at 6 o'clock, right, DJ?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, unless there's a pressing question someone wants to ask, I'm probably going to wrap this up. Like I said, I'm going to hang this. I'll link it all 1 hour and 18 minutes of it. I'll link to our website if you want to go back and review it again. Hold me accountable for something that I've said, and I hope this was useful. Communication to me is the biggest thing. Like I am an over communicator. And I just want to make sure that I over communicate to you and the league without inundating you with emails that are just hard to, see in your inbox. So I do appreciate you guys coming to the call, the 31 that are remaining. I hope you found it valuable. And if you do have a follow-up question that you want to just email to us, siennayouthbaseball@gmail.com. We'll get to it. And we have a few great people, Katie, Derek, Wesley, myself, that answer those emails. So it shouldn't sit in the inbox longer than a day or two. So anyway, that's it. Thanks, you guys. And I'll see you guys at the fields, if not sooner.
Thanks, BJ.